everyone. Welcome to the Community Live Lounge. Thanks for tuning in and being here with us today. We are so excited to have you all here. Awesome. Who do we have in chat? Hello, Sam. Hey, Cody. What's up, guys? What's up, Ilgar? Is that how I say your name? Let me know if I pronounced it right. Hello, Wade. How's it going? So excited to have you all here. So it is day 2 of Adobe Max, and in case you missed yesterday, make sure to head over to the Max site to catch the replays, find inspiration, and connect with creatives from around the world and learn the best ways to bring your ideas to life. Max is open to everyone at no cost, so if you haven't already, make sure to register at max.adobe.com. And if we're just meeting, my name is Katrina Torrijos, and I am the product evangelist for Adobe Spark. And today I have Shyne Webster in the house. Woo! Shyne is a designer, a brand coach, and an Adobe Spark ambassador. She is also the founder of Designed by Shyne, which is her design studio and brand coaching business. How's it going, Shyne?
Hey, Katrina. It's going well. I'm super stoked to be here. Super excited to be talking to you all. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, everyone here is super excited to hear from you today. So, are you ready to answer some questions?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Awesome. Okay. So, we're going to start off with the first question. And what is it like to be a business owner and a college student at the same time?
Yeah, it is a very weird, unique experience, but I love it. I think they kind of work hand in hand and like feed into each other. So the things that I'm learning in school help me do better and grow in my business. And then I can also bring like my personal experience in my business to my learning in the classroom. So it's a really cool dynamic. And like I love being in both at the same time and being in both worlds. But I do have a lot of like long, busy days. A lot of the times it feels like I'm trying to squeeze as much as I can out of just a set 24 hours as possible. So I'm always like going to the gym, doing class, eating with friends, extracurriculars, classwork, client work, meeting with my team, creating content. My to-do list is like never ending. But it is super fun. It's super cool. And I know that I'm very lucky to be in this position and kind of enjoy such a unique experience. I kind of feel like Hannah Montana in a way, because, in the business world, I'm like a totally different sort of person and in a different position. And then, in real life, I'm also like just a junior in college, still trying to figure things out, trying to make friends and get my bearings there. So it's a weird dynamic, but it is super fun.
I feel that. And I do have a slide here that shows all of your work as a past student. So let's switch over to that. Can you talk about some of the pictures here? Like what's going on?
Yeah, so a lot of these are like my class projects. These are from my baby freshman and sophomore years, so don't judge my skills. I've grown a lot. But yeah, I mean, I'm learning, I was learning things like typography and illustrations and posters and even doing kind of physical work and getting into creativity across different disciplines and what it looks like to design something that's a little bit more hands-on, which you can kind of see in that sort of carousel there. And I also just have like paintings, mixed mediums, and I also just do clothing and stuff as kind of my hobby and like personal passion project. But yeah, this is really just like my schoolwork and personal stuff. And then I have an entirely other portfolio of client work. So it also is kind of that Hannah Montana situation as a designer too, because I have my work, but I also have like my professional work, and they're often very different just because my clients want one thing, my professors want another thing, and I want something else all together. So
nice. Very cool. So what are some tips that you have for folks balancing their business with either a day job or school? Like how do you balance it all?
yeah, my biggest, I guess, realization in the process is that I feel like we can never truly balance it all, and that's okay, because different things in our lives, require different priority levels at different times. And so sometimes business is like your big thing and you're trying to build momentum, and it means that you're focusing your energy on that instead of, maybe your work or your personal life. And then sometimes, you've got like a big project at work or at school, and that's kind of your biggest priority. I think it really just depends. And what it really comes down to, for me at least, is to just kind of honor my own energy and like being aware of what my capabilities mentally and like emotionally are every single day. I know a lot of people in the entrepreneurship world especially recommend like time blocking and doing only like one type of activity per day of the week. And that just doesn't really work for me. I think a lot of people who are really creative, it doesn't work for them either, just because the rigidity is draining. And so I think, of course, you have to be disciplined and like be on top of your stuff and know what you're doing each day and what's on your agenda. But also, really just kind of honoring your flow and like knowing what you feel up to each day and what kind of tasks you can actually get done, because, it's better to do three things that you're kind of having fun with than spending 3 hours on something that's dragging. Just come back to it another day. So I think really just trying to avoid burnout with that is a huge just priority.
Yeah. And speaking of priority, like what is your own personal favorite way to like prioritize your tasks and what you're going to accomplish for the day?
This is kind of terrible. I like barely prioritize things. I'm very bad at it. I'm not gonna lie, I can be quite the procrastinator, which is ironic because that's an issue that I, coach my clients through, because procrastination stems from perfectionism and creative block and all these other things. But I battle with it too. So for me, what it ultimately comes down to is just prioritizing things based on deadlines, because even though I want to honor how I feel and where my energy is at, I also know that realistically, things need to get done, and my clients have expectations and my professors have expectations. So for me, it's just whatever is due soonest is usually what gets my attention.
That's a really good tip. I have Sam Peterson in the chat saying, my focus definitely bounces around a bit in terms of what feels inspiring at the moment. And Cody said, like, I'm a procrastinator too and a perfectionist.
Yes, not alone.
Yeah, super relatable. Okay, so I guess moving more towards talking about like designed by Shyne. So what was it like to start your own brand and business? Like, especially as a college student, do you just wake up one day and be like, I'm going to start this right now? Like, how did you come about the idea?
I always say that I started my business on accident. So I started Designed by Shyne actually right out of high school. It originally started with me creating some digital illustrations. I had just gone to the Vans US Open of Surfing in California. And I was super inspired by like the surf culture, and I created some drawings, sent them to my friends, and they were like, dude, put these on shirts. So I put them on shirts, and lo and behold, I started a business, but I didn't really intend to start a business. So I was just kind of selling them to my friends, my social circles, family, friends, things like that. And then when I got to college, that was an entirely new, demographic and community that started liking my work. So I would sell like more shirts, stickers, things like that. But it was really kind of an accident, I say, because I didn't even know how to run a business, and I didn't even think I was really running a business. And so it was really just clothing based at the time, just for fun. It really came from a place of like passion and just, going with the flow. And then about a year after I started it, I actually met a business coach who I guess sort of inspired me or guided me to sell my services as a designer instead. And that's when like Designed by Shyne 2.0, the Designed by Shyne that now, was really born. So it's kind of been 2 years, but it's been 1 year of like my studio and my practice as a designer. But it honestly feels like kind of a whirlwind and kind of an overnight success story. And I know a lot of times people are like, I put in like 10 years of work behind the scenes and all this stuff. And that's just not been my experience. I was very fortunate to just take action, take those leaps of faith, and have the right people in my corner to get me to where I am today. But it was like super accidental, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, that's super inspiring. I have a question from chat actually. Someone asked, where do you find your inspiration from?
Ooh, I love this question. Inspiration is a huge part of my creative practice and just creativity in general, I think. I think the best inspiration is really found anywhere. I pull inspiration from other industries. So I don't really get a lot of inspiration from graphic designers or brand designers, but I'm really into streetwear and sneakers and that world. And so I get a lot of my inspiration from people like, Salehi Bembury and Sean Weatherspoon, and people who are like doing things that are in other industries and other disciplines. And I kind of bring those influences into my work. And really, when it comes to inspiration, it doesn't really matter what is inspiring you, whether it's movies or podcasts or music. Music is also a huge one for me. I have no rhythm. I can't sing. I can't dance, but music is really helpful for me to like tap into my own emotions. And so wherever you're getting inspiration from, it's valid. And how it manifests itself is really just kind of going through you as like a filter or a translator. So wherever you're getting inspo from is super valid and super, it's accepted, and you should embrace it, because however it comes out is going to be affected based on who you are and how you see it and your personality. So all of your influences matter, and you can be influenced by anything, whether it's something you see outside on the street or someone you look up to. And all of those things, whether consciously or subconsciously, they shape you and they shape your work, but you also shape them. And how they influence your work is really just based on you. So it's like it goes in, one way, but it also comes out looking totally different based on just who you are naturally. So I definitely would recommend looking across other disciplines, other creative works, and really just getting inspired that way, and try to look outside of the bubble of the medium that you choose to work in.
Oh, that's such great advice. I have Jasmine Bomer in the chat saying this is such great advice. Thank you so much.
I'm glad.
Yes, I definitely resonate with that, because when I was like, okay, I looked at your Instagram profile, and girl, your branding is so on point. It's so
Thank
unique
you.
and original, and I feel the vibe just radiating out of your Instagram page, and as well as your website. Like your vibe really comes through for that, and you did such a great job with your branding. Now, while on that topic, like, is there a story behind like your how you decided the branding for Design by Shyne? Like, how did you decide your colors, your tone of voice, imagery, etc.?
Yeah, so I feel like I'm just exposing myself over and over again right now, but there isn't kind of a story. I mean, I'm going to be honest, when I first started my design studio, I didn't really even know anything about branding. So I kind of just chose my colors and my visuals and my logo based on what I liked and like what felt like me. But I know today that that's not sound advice. And I would tell any entrepreneur, any, creative who's looking to brand themselves, not to do that. Don't choose colors just based on what you like or what your favorite color is. Be intentional and strategic about your brand identity and the colors and the personalities behind the fonts and all those different elements, right? What they communicate. But I also realize that not everybody knows how to do that, and not everybody can do that, because we're all just gifted differently. And that's, ask a friend, hire someone, do research about it. But definitely, I would suggest don't do what I did. Yeah, do your due diligence in terms of figuring out what things convey, like what different colors represent and what different fonts, they convey and things like that. And then use those to see if they align with what you want to say and what your message is and what your personality is. Because luckily for me, it worked out because I subconsciously knew what I was doing. Like I did it the right way when I built my branding. I just didn't know I was doing it. But that's just kind of one of my hidden strengths that I didn't realize at the time, was really being able to like curate a vibe that's really me and get myself across in a visual format. But again, like not everybody just has that natural gift. So I wouldn't advise, if that's not you, I wouldn't advise just going with the vibes and doing what feels right in the moment. I would say to do your due diligence and kind of look into different meanings behind different visual elements. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a lot of great advice. That's so amazing. Branding is something I personally struggle with also. So for you to say, like, offer just your tips and just not choosing colors, like it's more than just choosing colors that you like. Like branding is more than just the colors, like,
Yeah.
it's super, yeah, it's super important. And then going back to the slide with the creating graphics that feel like you, like, can you talk about more about like how, what are some tips you have to like make graphics or a brand identity that people can make to have it feel authentic to themselves?
Yeah, I mean, I think it ultimately, as you can see in the slides too, is that it really comes down to yourself and knowing who you are. I love Drake, so this is a Drake shout out. He says in one of his songs, "Know yourself, know your worth." That is very accurate branding advice. So when it comes to building your brand, before you even get to visuals like your logo and your colors, or even just like your brand voice and tone and all those things, before you even get there, you should know like the essence of your brand. You should know the foundation of your brand and what it stands for and how it feels. And for me, the way I approach it is super personal. It really just comes down to knowing who you are And sometimes that's the hardest part because the things that make up our brand usually come naturally to us. So we don't even see them because like we're just so blind to it. We're not aware of ourselves in that way. And sometimes we need other people to point them out. So when it comes to like discovering your brand from the get-go, I think look to see what people say most often about you. Like, what are the positive things that people in your life consistently call out? Um, what do you think about? How do you see the world? Why do you think that way? What is it that you like to do? Why do you like to do those things? How do you approach them? What's your perspective? All of that is really where you're going to find the essence of your brand. And then you can translate those visually through different things like colors or fonts or like even just the words that you use. But ultimately, it comes down to one, knowing yourself, and then two, seeing how the different visual elements that you can use in your brand, like seeing how those things make you feel and seeing what kind of messages they convey. So your influences, like the things that inspire you and your memories and significant moments in your life, those things, you might find that they align really well with certain colors or certain art style. And that's kind of where you find your sweet spot in terms of like branding that's aligned to you and that feels authentic. Because let's say you're someone who's, super spunky and really out there and you love like loud, bold patterns. Minimalism and black and white and neutral art styles, like that kind of design isn't authentic to you because it doesn't match up with your personality type. So again, it just kind of goes back to like knowing what those different things symbolize and making sure they're aligned to who you are. But it really starts with knowing who you are, like the graphic shows, right? All of those things that you might not think about, like your inspirations, like your memories, that's the foundation, but you are the trunk of the tree that's going to produce the other things after. So it's kind of a process and it really does take a lot of building, but definitely start with self-awareness.
Boom. There it is. Start with self-awareness. I did not even think about it that way because I feel like that's probably maybe one of the first times I've even heard that like creating a brand comes from self-awareness and knowing yourself and knowing what you like and the story and your own personal story. So that's really important. Thank you for sharing that, Shyne.
Thank you.
So I have another question from chat. What has been your favorite project that you have created, personal or business?
Ooh, that's so good. I love this question. So technically it's both personal and business. So when Designed by Shyne was just clothing based, I released my second collection called the Super Future collection. And the message behind it, the reason I called it that was because it was all about, this is like during COVID too, when everyone was like on the tie-dye wave, doing their own thing with clothes, and there was really nothing else to do but shop. This was like prime lockdown. And there was just kind of this general trend towards like DIY and stuff like that. And so the Super Future collection was all about promoting sustainability, promoting reworking and upcycling your clothes. And so I took vintage pieces and other types of clothing and I cut and dyed and screen printed everything myself. And it was all about just, again, promoting that sustainability. And so the designs on the shirts, they said, "This isn't even my final form." So, still evolving. There was one that said cut from the same cloth. So kind of riffing off that phrase, cut from a different cloth. Well, sustainability, you want to be cut from the same cloth. So that was just my favorite one because there was so much like meaning behind it. And I love a good pun and it just looked super dope. And it was just my favorite thing I just loved getting my hands in every aspect of the production process. It was super cool.
Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. And can people find this collection on your Instagram?
Yes, so you can find it on my Instagram. There was a picture in the first slide too, if you saw some of those photos of like the clothes and stuff. Yeah, they're on the right.
Yes, right here
on the right. So that was just a little flat lay, but yeah, you can find the archives on my IG for sure.
Oh my gosh, that is super cool. And so you did all the screen printing and stuff, or?
Yeah, I did it all. Yeah, it was wild.
That is super cool.
Oh my gosh, it was super fun. That was my favorite project for sure.
I love it. Okay, I also have another question from chat. But before that, Jasmine said, "Okay, DIYer."
Period. Thank you.
Okay, I have another question from chat. So, with your busy schedule, do you let others reach out to you first, or are there brands and people you feel inspired by that reach out to you?
Okay, so let me know if I'm interpreting this wrong, but I think you're meaning in terms of like collaborations and working together.
Mhm.
So when it comes to that, I have established myself to a point where people come to me to work with me. So this is like a whole other tangent that I could go on in terms of like building a brand and positioning yourself in the market so that you're the go-to for something. But essentially, in the past year that I've been running my design studio, what I've been working to do is to build my brand and to build myself up in the market so that my like dream clients, my ideal clients, they know that I'm here and they know they want to work with me and they come to me so that I don't necessarily have to do the outreach and, email people or DM people or convince people to work with me. So because I am so busy and because I did kind of put in that work, that year of work, building myself up and building my brand, now most of the time people come to me. And even with my, brand collabs that I do, like kind of brand deals and paid partnerships, those people come to me too. So I don't really do a lot of active outreach in terms of finding clients or finding brands to work with, just because I don't really have the time. But thankfully, I put in my work so that I don't have to either. So if this is something you're interested in, or if you're kind of like looking for advice in this area, I would for sure suggest, focus on building your brand and focus on what you want to be known for and what you want to be the go-to for, and kind of building that up in people's minds so that you can kind of just sit back and allow the clients to roll in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great tip. So speaking of like your workflow and your processes and stuff, so what does like a day in your studio look like when you're doing a project like this? Like, what is your process? And I also have the slide up of the Belize poster, and you kind of note your sketch process here. So,
Yeah.
mhm.
So my process is I think it's organized chaos. It's creative chaos. And I think a lot of you watching this can relate because, we as creatives can be a little all over the place, and it's fine as long as you know how things work, it's fine. But a typical like day in the studio for me, my process is very much, if you couldn't tell, based on feelings, based on vibes. So for me, it's all about getting the vibe right, getting in the right mood, getting in the atmosphere. And for me, that looks like, putting on the right music and listening to podcasts or watching YouTube videos. For me, I always need to be inspired. I'm a very emotional person, not super logical. And so, like, if I don't feel like doing something, or if I'm not in the mood, or if the vibes are off, then I'm probably not going to do my best creative work. So I have to make sure I'm in the zone in terms of being inspired. So for me, a lot of my creative work is actually like a response to stimuli in my environment, whether that is, a movie or a video or something like that. So for me, definitely getting inspired. And then in terms of my more tactical process, um, I feel like this is kind of best practice for anything creative, but I've also realized that not everybody does this. So I always start with sketching. I like to incorporate as many physical elements into my process as possible, just because we can get super sucked into the void as digital creators. So it's just important to kind of bring yourself back to, pencil and paper, or even an Apple Pencil, right? Because you're still using your hands, or just taking a break to go outside and just things like that. So for me, that's kind of my best practice of like starting with tangible and then bringing that into the computer, and really just kind of knowing and accepting that you're never truly done with a work. And you might learn something tomorrow that changes the way you look at a piece, and you can learn something. So on the slide here, you can see I started with sketches, and then I started with different digital versions, and then I invited other people into my process and they gave me feedback, and it led to this beautiful end piece. But it definitely didn't start like that. So just knowing everything's always a work in progress, and just I guess being aware of yourself and trying to stay healthy in terms of getting physical, staying hydrated, dancing in between your work, like taking a break, just doing something fun. I always try to have fun with it. I always try to keep the vibes good and upbeat, because I don't like doing things that I have to do. So I want to do the work.
Yeah, no, that's really important. Like creating an environment that you feel inspired in is super important. And I really like what you said about starting like with paper and pencil, using your hands first and sketching things out, and then bringing it into digital. I know a lot of my like creator friends, most of them actually start this way, just so because it just feels like you just let the creative juices flow, like you're letting your hands move, you're getting like that exercise kind of going, rather than like
Exactly.
just sitting in front of a screen, and like you said, also going outside. And is this something that you cover in your Max sessions? I believe it's today, right?
Yes, Simone, my Mac session is coming up today. I talk a lot about like just creating scroll stopping graphics and different graphics and sort of like the process of creating graphics in Spark. So definitely if you're interested in kind of seeing this stuff come together and seeing the process of pieces like this and things like that,
Mhm.
totally check into my session because we will be going a little bit deeper into that kind of stuff in the creation workflow.
Awesome. Well, with that said, that's all the time we have for today. Shyne, where can folks find you after the stream?
You can find me on Instagram at Designed by Shyne. You can find me on my website, designedbyshyne.com. Pretty much any platform, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, I'm Designed by Shyne. Come hang out. Let me know if you saw the session and feel free to ask me some questions on my socials. So, yeah, thanks so much for watching.
Awesome. Thanks for hanging out with us today. I hope you have a great rest of your Max and stay tuned for the next segment. Bye bye.